Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Broward County's Office of Economic and Small Business Development Business Management System Vendor Training. Today, you're going to learn about our office system for the local and the federal certification programs and also the renewal process for those two programs. My name is Maribel Feliciano. I'm the director of the Broward County Office of Economic and Small Business Development, or OESBD for short. And today you will have the opportunity to learn more about our BMS system. We're calling it BMS for short. This is the new OESBD business management system that's going to include all the functions of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, and that includes certification for both the local and the federal program. Also, all the compliance modules associated with monitoring our small business programs under both the local and the federal program. It also includes our monthly utilization reports, our payment verifications, and a lot more. But today, we're going to focus on certification under both the local and the federal program. The system is scheduled to go live on January 26th. And we're getting a lot of questions from our vendors, our primes and subs. They want to know when they can start using the system. So we want you to know that you can start using the system on January 26th. You can go in and set up your vendor profile. And we have all the information related to the system, how to set up your vendor profile, how to submit your certification renewals applications, everything related to payment verifications, and all the modules that are going to be part of the business management system. The trainings are being recorded, and they're available on our website, on our YouTube channel. So we definitely encourage you to participate as part of these live sessions. But at the same time, if you want to go back to refer back to any of the information we're sharing with you, you can always go to our YouTube channel to get additional information about the system, the various steps you need to follow, etc. And in addition to that, if you have any questions after completing the training, our office is here to assist you, to answer any questions you may have. We're going to share the information you need to use to email us or call us for additional information. We want you to know that we are really excited about going live with our new system, but we're also here to support you as you have any questions navigating the system. Also, B2G Now, the vendor that we're using, also provides technical assistance with various aspects of the system. So please know that we're here to work with you through this transition and to answer any questions you may have. And if you have feedback as you're using the system, please feel free to contact us, contact me here in the office, because we want to hear from you. We want to receive your feedback as you're using the system. And again, remember that on January 26th is when you can go and set up your vendor profile and start using the system. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to proceed with today's session. And today is going to be introduction to the business management system for the local and the federal certification. That includes, again, the new applications and the renewal process. It's important that you know that the directory continues live. So on January 26th, you're going to be able to access the directory as part of the new system. And the companies that are certified remain certified. And you will have, of course, a grace period to submit your renewal, etc., as we have always done as part of our ongoing process. But if you have any specific questions about your individual needs or your individual certification status, etc., please feel free to contact us, and we'll be glad to assist you. At the end of the sessions, you're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions you may have. Please feel free to share the questions at the end, because we're going to have our small business manager is going to be answering any questions you may have related to the certification process or the renewal process. And now I hope you're ready, because we're getting ready to get started with the small business certification application training.
you for joining the live training for the online certification application. This training is for users seeking to become certified with one of our customers or primarily with Broward County. We will get started here now. B2G Now is a worldwide supplier management software utilized by over 400 organizations across the country, including state agencies, city, school districts, and also Broward County. Our customers use B2G Now system to track subcontractor utilization, certifications, pre-qualifications or registrations, and more. You have joined this class or this session because you are working with Broward County or additional clients that are, and you're seeking to learn more about navigating the system specifically for certification. In this class, we'll specifically speak on certification tracking and the application process. This training is designed for vendors seeking a new certification status with a government agency or certified agency like Broward County, who does business with B2G Now. If you are here, chances are you already are aware that you're working with Broward County, so this should be pretty easy to follow through. This is also good for those that may be new to the system but have already taken the introduction to the system session. For we will go over a lot of the basic concepts like logging into your system. We will not re-review that information again. So if you need a little help, I would certainly suggest going back, reviewing the introduction to the system class before moving on to this class. You are welcome to pause if we're utilizing this as a video, or if you're here in a standard training, I would suggest that you actually just listen through the class for the standard training and then come back later and watch the video and walk through it along if you would like to. Okay, some things might be identical and some things might be a little different, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, these are the areas that we're going to walk through today. We're going to go through the portal page of the certifying organization and what to look for there and what buttons to look for when applying for certification. We're going to talk about how to select the application, so the welcome content, the eligibility statements, what you want to read through before moving forward. We're going to talk about what we call our decision tree, which is a series of statements that requires you to make a selection, and then we'll talk through the eligibility requirements and the document list preview. Then we'll talk about completing the application section, so adding supporting documents, mandatory versus required documents, and then electronically faxing. And then we'll go through the final steps, so how to sign or print the application. Broward County does not require payment of information, but just be mindful if you are working with the agency that utilizes B2G Now that does require payment. There is a next step for that, so we'll just gloss over it. And then lastly, we'll talk about the help and support, the video libraries, and even that training user guide that's available. In some of my standard classes, I typically get questions about how do I find additional agencies that does certifications. Broward County is exclusive to the certifications that they have, but there are also agencies in the state of Florida that have local and federal programs. So you'll want to make sure that you're applying to the appropriate one. I also get questions about bidding opportunities. How do I find that within the Broward County system? You'll want to do that Google search and find that in their appropriate areas. At this point, they won't be allowing or having those opportunities here. Certainly do not necessarily need to be certified to bid on contracts or be part of work, but it's, also something good to have and work with. I also suggest, just as a quick little tidbit, attend local meet and greet events hosted by Broward County or other agencies around, just to get your name out there. So I like to put this little tidbit in there just for those that were wondering, what do I do after I get certified? Most agencies utilize the B2G Now system for the online application. Will have an option on the front of their portal that will look very similar to what you see here. You'll see a apply for certification button. In Broward County, we'll have something very similar. When you click on that, you'll be brought to a welcome page, a little page that looks like this. Typically, there's additional details at the top of the screen. Here, they'll provide you with information for the agency contact. So if you have questions about your certification or even just the certification, you can reach out to them. I would suggest first getting logged in and reading through, because once you get logged in, you'll also see the eligibility information about this certification record, which I'll show you in just a moment. You can either look up an account. So if you took the introduction to the class, I showed you how to go through the lookup account process, and I talked to you about what is important to remember when coming in here and looking up your account first. You can also create an account. So if you have never worked with the B2G Now system before, you can go in to create an account from here. I would certainly suggest, I'm sorry, it's not a suggestion. What's happening in the system is that once you put your information in, it will ask for your tax ID, and it'll do a quick validation to make sure you don't already have an account. So if you do have an account, it'll flag it to say you have an account, but if you don't have an account already, it'll allow you to go through without needing to create that account. If you know your username and password, so if you've worked with other agencies like maybe a Broward Public Schools, you've worked with maybe Miami-Dade County or some other agencies within the state of Florida, you already have an account created, so you can just simply log in. Okay, so those are your options for logging into the system. Once you've logged into the system, you will be taken to what we call our welcome page, and it looks similar to what you see here. Be mindful if the certification action you are taking, you're a new applicant, seeking certification from Broward County for the first time. Be mindful of what certification that is, and take note of their qualifications. So this welcome page will give you information about this agency, and it'll also show you these buttons here where you can click on the qualifications for each one. I would certainly suggest read through that information first before starting the application. Next, we have what we call our decision tree, which is a series of statements that direct you to the correct application each time. Here is a sample of one of Broward County's of what theirs look like. You'll just start off with identifying, are you currently certified or you're not currently certified? Okay, so current certification is regardless of if you've done the certification through this system or not. If you have an active certification with Broward County, you would select currently certified. If you don't have an active one, if it's expired or lapsed or you never became certified, you may need to select your firm is not currently certified. Okay, before we get into the system, which we were about to do now, I want to give a couple of reminders. When filling out questions on the application, you need to always fill them from left to right. Okay, so this one is an example of a question on one of the new applications. Notice here, the top one, you have the name, title, date appointed, ethnicity, and gender. And so those things are captured. You'll want to make sure you fill in that information from left to right fully. If you have multiple officers, so this is asking identify your firm's officers. So if you have multiple officers, you want to list out all of those officers separately. For those that are required, they'll be notated in a red asterisk. Otherwise, you'll see a yellow box that makes them optional. So make sure you fill in that information that's optional. We're going to talk about documents. So mandatory and required documents. Mandatory documents are documents that must be uploaded. Required documents are documents applicable to your organization. So if, let's say, for example, we're going to show you an example of a potential required document that you'll want to make sure that you provide that's applicable to your organization. All right, let's go ahead and let's get logged in. So I spared you from watching me type. So I logged into Broward County, and under key actions, I can also view that application from here as well. All right, so I can see the list of applications listed here. Okay, as mentioned earlier, you have what we call our welcome page here. I, again, highly suggest you read the requirements before moving forward. So read what they're saying are you have to have requirements for eligibility. So this one is personal net worth per owner is less than 1.32 million, and so on and so forth. Okay, so make sure that you're going through that process to read and review the information. Once you've read and reviewed the information, you now have what we call our decision tree that you will select an option from. So you'll come down here. If you're already certified and you just want to make a note to update your certification, submit your annual update, you can do that. Identify which certification you're certified under and submit your annual update where is needed. If you are not currently certified with Broward County, you'll just come in here and click the not currently certified and select the certification you're seeking certification for. So if you're seeking for CBE, small business enterprise certification, you'll want to make the selection. Are you located in Broward County or are you not? You know, you want to be honest there so that you have that information and you're submitting the right application. If you are, then it'll take you to the application that you can choose from. Okay, because that application is a little longer, I'm going to, for my training purposes, I'm going to say I'm currently certified and I want to submit an annual update. Oh, another thing that I also want to, before we submit the application, I want to draw your attention. If you're currently certified, and you want to make an update to your profile, Broward County does allow you to do that here from the decision tree. So you'll just select, I would like to make an update to my certification profile or report a material change, and then follow the decision tree requirements. So if you want to just update your business name, that's totally fine. This is or your address or fax or so. This is the easy form that you fill in. Broward County will receive it and they'll approve or ask for additional information if they need. If you need to update a commodity code, this is a whole a different process, and it'll look similar to what you'll see in just a moment as we fill in the application. But this is just asking you to provide that material information. So if you're making those changes, you can submit that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's click on any of the applications. So I've clicked on the application. There's some information up top here. Certainly suggest reading through that information. If you ever get stuck, there are additional manuals. So there's this need help section here and user manual where you can take or you can read through the process of applying for certification. This is a general manual that can be used for any process. Or you can sign up for one of our other general classes that we do. We're going to scroll down here under company and contact information. You want to identify the business name. Now, if you're the type that have multiple businesses, please make sure that business that you want to be certified, you're logged into that account. Now, that's where it does get a little different. So you will have different accounts for different businesses, but you will only have one account for the same business. So we're using subflooring, and we just want to be certified with under subflooring. That's my only business. Your email address, your company email, and your company type. Remember, some of these things pre-populate from that profile. We talked about that during that introduction to the system class and how to keep that updated. This will pre-populate, but this is just an editable field. So if you need to make a change now to this, please do. Make that update here, and then you can go back later and update your profile. Same with your company type. You want to update your company type here, add, if you need to. This is directly correlating to your document list. We're going to see that in just a moment. So which documents you provide is related to whatever you select here. So make sure you're selecting the appropriate company type. The autofill option gives you the option to kind of save your phalanges or your fingers from typing a lot if you filled in similar applications throughout the areas or the nations you've worked with, right? So you could use your account information like your business profile. We talked about that in introduction to the system. You can use that to autofill some areas, or you could use previous applications that you've worked on to autofill some of that information, okay? And if it's available, you'll see a little bubble for selecting it. Now, I have a lot of testing, so you probably won't see your list look this large. All right, eligibility requirements. This is here just another confirmation to make sure you're in the right place. All right, so make sure you answer this information truthfully and move forward. Once you've made your selections here, you'll click on continue. From this point, you have not yet started the application, but you're in the preview of that application. And this here is what we call our document list preview. Notice here at the top is the document list preview for corporations, because I selected in the previous screen that I'm a corporation as a company type. Remember, I just said that the documents are associated. Okay. Now you can scroll down here and look at the mandatory documents and the required documents. Mandatory documents are required. You have to provide those mandatory documents to this agency in order to even submit the application. Required documents are required if it's applicable to you. So if, for example, if you have copies of state or county competency professional licenses, you need to provide that. If that's applicable to you, please ensure that you're providing that information. Same goes with any of these others here. If there's additional information that you want to provide or documentation, you can also provide it here under that additional documentation not listed above. We put this document list here for you because sometimes it takes a little time for you to gather this information. And so one thing you'll notice if I scroll up a little bit, in this red box here, there's a timeline. You have 90 days to submit this application before it deletes automatically out of the system. The purpose of this submission timeline is to ensure that we keep the quality of our database and we don't have just lingering applications out there for years on years on years. So before you get ready to start the application, I would certainly suggest have your documents together, okay, so that you can just get it all completed all in one swoop. You never know what might happen between now and when you actually want to submit that application, okay? So we're good. I have my personal net worth documents, my tax returns, my Broward County tax receipts, and I also have those required documents that's applicable to me ready, and I'm ready to submit this application right now. So I'm just going to click on this checkbox, and I'm going to click continue. The other thing I want to make note before I hit continue is that these documents are different for each application type or certification type you're applying for. So this one is our renewal, our annual update, but if we were submitting for new, we might have more documents or less documents. So keep that in mind. And what you see here is not inclusive of all applications. All right, let's go ahead and click continue. Now I have started the application. All right, I want to just go over a couple things about this section. You have the information about the application listed here. You have your status, which we know is incomplete. You have the application number. Every application is assigned a number. This is just for technical reasons. This is a B2G Now number that's assigned. So let's say you have a problem, you're having challenges with submitting the application, and you need our tech support to help you. You simply give them the application number that you're working on, and we're able to go to that application pretty quickly and help you with resolving that issue. And it'll be useful in just a moment. I'm going to show you another reason why this application is necessary. All the applications have a specific date for deletion. Please keep in mind of this date. So you need to have this application filled out and completed before it's deleted by this date. There is opportunities in some cases for you to extend it, but be careful because there are some agencies that have limits on this extension date. So make sure that you're extending only for the time frame that you're able to extend, and keep it mindful. It extends for 7 days. So if you hit that extension date, it'll extend 7 days from that date. Contact person. This is the person that actually created the record, the application. You can change the contact person, but if you do that, you will lose access to the application. If you want somebody else to have access to this application and you still maintain access, let me show you what to do. You're going to scroll up here and go to the Utilities tab. And on the Utilities tab, in the middle here, you have this option to get access to specific users. Now remember, I told you about this application number on the first tab. This is important, especially if you're granting one of our customer support, which is any of these users here, access to your application. We're going to need to know that application number so that we can support you. Okay, so here you can also grant access to any of your users within subflooring, and then there's additional users. So maybe the agency staff, you want to grant them access to this application, you can do that here as well. All right, when you're granting someone access, you can grant them to as little as 1 hour to as much as permanently, and everything in between. You just simply select that time frame and then click on grant access. It's going to ask you to confirm yes, and now they have access. Look here at this access list. They have access, and it tells you the access start and end date. You can't come in here and revoke their access at any point. And then it keeps the history here of that application or the access points and what's going on. All right. If for any reason you need to manually delete this application, you can by clicking on delete annual update if you need to. All right, let's go back here to the main tab, and on the main tab here, we're going to scroll down here to sections and documentation. Now this is where the meat is happening of the application. You have, again, each application have its own number of sections, so I'm using this as the annual update so I can spare your life from having to watch me type and make errors. But each section, when they are incomplete, you'll see this red arrow, red box. It'll also say it's incomplete, and it'll keep track here of the number of questions that you've answered and completed along the way. Okay, so to fill it in, you'll just click on this fill in button here, and it'll take you to the section that you need to fill in. Some things to highlight. Required answers are identified with a red asterisk, and the box will be red. Optional is a yellow box, and that just indicates also that it hasn't been completed or filled in. And complete means that it's green. So let's take a look at, let's go ahead and fill in some areas. All right, so we're in section 1, legal name. It pre-filled for me. I didn't type that in because of that profile information. So did my FEN, my business. My county didn't pre-fill. And it's required. So I need to make sure I enter that. My phone number pre-filled, my email. This is a very specific question. Are we registered? We'll say yes here. And once we filled in all the information, we're going to click save and return. Now you could save this as draft. So you could fill this in and say, oh shoot, I don't remember if I am registered with BPRO. If I'm not, I can just navigate away from this and go check to see if I'm registered or register if I need to do that. So I could save it as a draft or just save and return to summary. So that's what we're going to do. And notice here, I filled in all of the areas. It's now green. I've got a green check mark, and it also says complete. So we can go through any of these sections in any order if we want to. So if we want to immediately fill in the doc list next, we can, or we could just go to section 2. So I'm just going to go to section 2 because I like to go through order. All right, again, same type of features. The section have required areas. This is a good one. So like if this one here, have there been any changes to the ownership of the company in the last 12 months? If I said yes, I must enter what changes, the changes in the box next to it. Okay, so just make sure that you're being mindful of that. Here it's asking me for my gross receipt, so make sure that we're providing the gross receipts. I just went in all types of order here. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. This is why you want to be spared from watching me type. All right. For the sake of typing, I'm going to enter that. Notice here, I identified the year ending. I entered the total receipts. This does require you to do it for the previous years, 3 years. So you need to make sure you're entering the gross receipts for those 3 years. Okay. All right, this is another good one. Remember earlier before we got into the system, I told you that you want to fill out the questions from left to right. All right, so this one is asking list all licenses held. So I do have licenses as my example, and we're going to make sure that we fill in from left to right. Okay, so who is the holder? Okay, type of license. What is the expiration date? I'll say 20. There we go. What is the license number? And then the state of the license. Okay? So very simple. If I have more licenses, I can just go ahead and add that license. Remember, left to right. If I run out of space, there's this link here where you can save the page and add more licenses to this line. Okay? So make sure that you're filling it all from left to right. Don't go down to the next line unless you have another license or something else to report. All right? You see here under this question, it's very similar. All right? All right, we're going to just go ahead and click none, no's, and we're going to click save and return. There are chances and opportunities that when you save it and you come back here, this is red. Just go back and look at the questions because let me hit this edit again. Notice here, everything is green. So if something is missing, it'll show in red it's missing, and it's easy for you to respond to. All right, cancel that. Last thing here is the document list here on that screen. Now, the document list allows you to attach documents. There are 2 options of attaching. You can attach it through the upload from your computer, or you can fax it in. You don't have to have a different fax number. Actually, the fax number is located on the screen, the cover page itself. I'm not going to go through the details of that because it is really self-explanatory. Most people, though, utilize the attaching feature. So we're going to go ahead and click on attach. You can attach over up to 100 megabytes. Anything over that will be rejected. You can attach as many files as you need to. So I'm going to click here and browse my computer. And let's use that one. Give it a brief description. Okay. All right. I promise I won't do any more typing. So you can browse, you can drag files as well here into this drag and drop feature. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click upload. Again, if I had another one, I can click on attach. Let's see, use that one as our example, and we can upload. So upload as much as you need to, and then you can view that file or download that file just to make sure you're attaching the right one. Notice here, so in this example, you have a downloadable file that you need to download first to fill in. So it looks like they want you to download it, fill in the details, and then upload that file here. Okay, so just be mindful of that. All right, I have a couple more that I need to attach. Okay. So I've got all of my files attached. Now listen, y'all saw me attach these files and these don't look like the files they're requesting. I'm going to say to you, don't just attach anything to submit the application. Please make sure you're attaching the actual corporate federal forms, whatever they're asking here, make sure you're attaching that, because you risk your application not being processed or being returned to you, and that could delay the process and delay your certification and could have an adverse effect. So make sure you're attaching the right documents here. All right, so I've attached all of the mandatory documents. So remember, mandatory documents are required for everyone. Let's scroll down. Are there any required documents I need to attach? Now remember, in my application, I did say that I had a professional license. And so if I said that in my application, I definitely need to make sure that I'm attaching that a professional license information here in the application. All right, otherwise, if the rest of this does not apply to me, I'll just check mark this box here. So select the check mark and then click on lock in. And it's going to ask you to confirm, yes. And it's locked in. Okay, so I've noted this is not applicable to me. All righty. All right, I've completed. Let's go back to the main page here. I've completed all 3 sections, and you'll probably notice that this top bar here have now turned yellow, orange type of color, and it also is giving me an indicator that I need to now sign the application. So if I'm happy, good to go for it, my status is update, let's go ahead and sign the application. I can click this link, or I could go up here to this tab and click on signature. Either way, it'll take me to the sign section. You'll want to read through that and add your signature. Okay, or it's Lucy, that's my name. Okay, so you'll want to add that information and then validate and sign. All right, from here, we have not submitted the application. Once the application is submitted, it cannot be withdrawn or taken back, but you do have an option here. If you want to view the application again, make an edit, maybe you forgot to add a document, you can edit that here as well. And if you're utilizing this system for other agencies, if you need to pay, this is where it all happened. But for them, for Broward County, no payment or anything is necessary. You're just going to go straight to submitting your annual application or whatever application it is. All right, so you'll check on this box to confirm and certify and acknowledge. And then you'll click submit. Let's do it. It's saying, are you sure? Because again, once you submit it, you can't take it back. I'm sure. Let's click OK. And it has now been submitted. It is ready. You have the application information. I often get this question in some of my general classes. When can I expect a final determination? Or what do I expect next? This is what the agency is sharing here. It's within 90 days. They'll provide you with information. They may ask for additional documentation. So I certainly suggest reading this screen. You can print this application for your records. Take note of that app number. So if you have questions about the application process and the application, you can reach out to the agency and say, hey, this is my application number. You know, what is the status or whatever on that. Okay, let's go here. I'm going to go here to the cert list, I think. Hold on. Let me see here. Oh, okay. You guys, they do have the supplemental. Let's say you forgot to add something. You can click on submit supplemental information. This is a one-directional document. You could say, hey, I forgot to add this document or add this context. You can type in that information here. Attach, you can say I'm not attaching, or I am attaching, or I'm submitting it by fax, or I'm dropping it off. You can click next to review, and then you're all good to go there. So that's one thing that you can use that's one directional directly to the agency. We're going to go back here to our cert list. And you'll remember in the introduction to the system, we briefly went over this page. So you have all of your applications listed here. And notice this application is submitted and pending receipt. Okay, so there are different processes that can happen. If once the agency have received your application, you'll see this received and in process. All right, once they've completed, whether they've approved it, they've denied it, you've withdrawn, you will see the process complete once the final decision is made. Okay, so that's what you're looking for when it comes to viewing your application and your status. For any applications that's approved, you can view that information here under current certifications. Okay, we've talked a lot about going to support. In a lot of these pages, you have this help and tools here at the top. I was down here at the bottom. At the bottom, you have customer support that's available as well, and you also have help and support. You can take additional training classes, watch this video again, and watch other videos like it if you would like to get more information. Now, in this session, we talked about a lot. We talked about how to get started, where to go for the portal page, how to apply for certification. We talked about that welcome page. And remember that before you start the application, certainly suggest reading those eligibility statements and understanding the eligibility process. Then we talked about the decision tree. What do you need to do to apply, which application you're going to select, and reviewing and previewing that document list and how that's the beginning of the process of submitting the application. Then we went through completing the application sections. So how to add the supporting documents, how to add the questions, reading them from adding information from left to right where required in those tables. And we talked about the electronic uploading or even faxing your documents. And then we went through those final steps. I glossed over, like I said, if there was any payment information. There's not a requirement for Broward County, but if you're working with other agencies, it's applicable. And then you how to sign, review, print, and lastly, we talked about some additional help and support tools. Thank you again for joining.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for staying with us through that training. We see that you've been entering questions in the Q&A. If you still have any in the chat, please feel free to switch that over to the Q&A. We're going to start answering. I'm Donna Ann Knapp. I'm the Small Business Development Manager in the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. With me is Cheryl Roberts. And Cheryl, do you want to introduce yourself briefly? And we'll jointly go through these questions.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, I am the supervisor of the certification section of the OESBD, and I will be answering most of your certification related questions today. And that's it. Most of you know me. I recognize a lot of you in the chat. So if you don't know me, that's who I am.
All right, so let's kick it off. I will be your Vanna White, Cheryl.
Okay.
The first question is, if I already created a new vendor registration a couple of weeks ago, do I have to do it again?
Now, vendor registration, I need to distinguish between BPRO, which is Purchasing Division's vendor registration, and the B2G system. If you registered or created a profile in the B2G system already, you don't need to do that again. But if you registered in the BPRO system as a vendor, yes, you do need to go into the B2G system on Monday, the 26th, and create a profile for yourself.
A good way to think about it is BPRO is used for solicitations, so it's pre-award. BMS will have contracts that are already awarded, but it also has the certification components, applications, and the directory. All right, the next question is, when the system goes live, will we need to enter past payment data so that the contract participation is calculated correctly for the entire contract, not just 2026? I'll take that one. I recognize the name from our concessions program, actually. So we've already pre-populated for our regular contracts that have CBE or DBE requirements. For our ACDBE program, which is our concessions program, there's a separate module. There's actually a training today. It's going to be at 1 p.m. I encourage any of our concessionaires or ACDBEs working with those concessionaires to join us for that session. But the first quarter is where the concessionaires, theirs is quarterly, not monthly, like the CBE and DBE program. You would be entering it in the system. So the first quarter, fiscal quarter, would be October, November, December, and that's due by January 20th. And we're going to work with everyone to get that entered, Jessica. So hopefully that answers your question. The next question is, where can I access the system once it's launched? And I'm a new vendor wanting to get SME certified. I'll do that one too, Cheryl, if you don't mind. So as of January 26th, which is next Monday, everyone will be able to access the live system. We will be posting updates to our OESBD webpage. If you go on our site right now, broward.org/econdev, the first thing you'll see is a picture for the new BMS system, which is our business management system, and we'll have updates there. So the link will be there, as well as we'll be replying to everyone who signed up for our trainings and providing that information to you there as well. Regarding SME certified, if SME is short for small minority enterprise, we currently do not have any minority-based programs within Broward County. All of our programs currently, both federal and local, are race and sex neutral. But we can talk more, Paulina, if you want to shoot me an email, you can, or Cheryl, and I'll ask CRO if you don't mind just to put our email addresses in the chat. And thank you very much. Next question. Corporate federal tax returns. The business was just approved in 2026, state of Florida, and EIN documents received. Cheryl, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So if you're interested in certification in the local CBE SBE program, you do need to be in business for at least 1 year. So if you just got that done, you're going to have to wait 12 months before you apply for certification. If you're interested in the federal program, the FSBE, DBE, ACDBE, FSBEC program, there's no time requirement, but you will have to submit a balance sheet. You can go on Google and search for a sample balance sheet and just follow the prompts there at the sample balance sheet.
Okay. The next question is, if you're ACDBE certified in Miami-Dade, but have a current contract business in Broward, will you have access to B2G now? I'll take that one. Yes, you will. If when you say certified in Miami-Dade, and I recognize the name as well from our concessions program, hi Samira. If you're referring to being ACDBE certified in Miami-Dade, the interim final rule, which was issued on October 3rd for the entire country, requires all certifiers to reevaluate DBE and ACDBE firms that were listed in their online directories before we can continue counting them towards meeting program requirements. But the contracts that are ongoing, we're still going to be monitoring according to those federal regulations. And any contracts that Broward County has, whether at the airport or with any other agency, will be in the BMS, provided it has small business participation requirements. And the ACDB program is one of those. Okay, next question. How long is the process for approval?
Okay, so one of the perks, I think, at least for us as staff, is that the certification process should be a little faster than it was with the old system. But I've got to give you a caveat. So we used to tell people that it's 30 to 45 business days. I think for the first couple of months of this new system, it's still going to be 30 to 45 business days to process an application, because we still have some leftover from before the new system, people who submitted before January 5th, who we're still working on. But I think once we get rolling, I'm thinking March, April, once we really get rolling, it probably will be about 3 weeks, maybe at the most, to 4 weeks for
Complete applications.
Complete application, exactly. So if we have to ask for documentation, just know that that delays it. That puts you further out, because every time we have to ask you for something, you go on the bottom of the list. So it behooves you to submit some completed application.
Okay. Next question is, what is BPRO? Really good question. BPRO is short for Broward Procurement, and it is Broward County's web-based procurement platform. That's where the county advertises all of its competitive solicitations for all goods and services that it wants to procure. So if you want to bid on a contract that hasn't yet been awarded, you do it in BPRO, and you have to sign up to be a registered vendor. It doesn't cost anything. You can go to www.broward.org/purchasing. On the purchasing division's webpage will be a link for BPRO. It explains how you can become a registered vendor. You just provide information about your company, and from there, you'll be able to see and access, view our bids either as a prime or a sub. Next question. Does a company business have to be in existence for a period of time, i.e. 12 months, prior to applying for SBE or CBE certification? This correlates, okay. This was the person that asked previously about the federal tax returns. So I think you answered that one, Cheryl.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
For equipment owned in the application, section 2, do we list our delivery vehicle, or is that unnecessary?
No, I would list it. If you own that vehicle, yes, list it. I think you just need the vehicle ID number and the type of vehicle, but yes, list that.
Okay. Next one. If you don't have a trade license, can you still be certified?
That's a very good question, because trade licenses, or what I'm assuming you mean, the competency licenses that went away.
Some of them.
Some of them went away last year. You can still get certified, but the caveat being, if you're bidding on a project that requires that license, you'll find yourself in a non-competitive situation. So a lot of the bids may require a GC to pull permits. So you may have to factor in paying a GC to pull permits for you in your bidding documents. Now, if that happens, it could put you, at a disadvantage in the bid process. But The short answer to that question is no, you don't have to have the license to get certified. So we certify people based on the eligibility requirements. We don't qualify people for bids for the county. So you'd have to look at the contract terms and make sure that it's not requiring you to have some sort of license or at least hire a GC.
If I could just add to that really quickly, if they weren't referring to certificates of competency, the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations determines whether or not a standard industry requires a professional license. If that's the case, you would be required to provide one. When the state legislature was issued and some of the local competencies went away, I know that Broward County's Building Code Division is trying to see where possible if they can merge former trades under pre-existing licenses that are still permitted. So you might want to reach out to the Broward County Building Code Division just for clarification as to whether there is a competency available for the service you provide. Next question. If application is a renewal, will our previous information and documentation be shown available to us?
Okay, if you submitted a renewal application, a renewal submission prior to January 5th, I'm going to say between November 1st and January 5th, that information we have, and we're going to transfer that information into the new system. If you haven't renewed and your certification was before November 1st, you're not going to have anything in the system. So you'll have to apply as if it's new. Now, if you've been certified with us and you haven't been quote unquote formally decertified, we'll look at that record and consider it a renewal. But you'll still have to submit and upload the documentation that's required for a renewal. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, you're still in the running if we haven't officially decertified you, which is
Right.
usually indicated by a letter. But if
Right.
you received one, then you'd have to submit a new application. All right, next question is, will we be sent a link to the site after it's operational? Yes, we answered that one. Yes, you will. Most of the tiles indicate CBE, SBE. I'm assuming it's from the training. We are CBE, but want to apply for SBE. Are they now one and the same?
No, so if you are CBE and not SBE, it's probably because you were too big for SBE when we looked at your original application. If you've fallen below the eligibility, I mean, the thresholds for eligibility for SBE, we can consider you for that, but we usually look at that when you submit your application anyway. So when you, if you're already CBE and you're up for renewal and your revenues say have fallen below the threshold, we'll stick that SBE back into your record. So you don't need to reapply for CBE. You just need to, I mean, SBE, you just need to submit your renewal documentation. And then, you know, we average over 3 years. So if you fall below the SBE threshold, then you get the SBE back.
Okay. Another one of our small businesses. Can I drop off my financial information instead of uploading at the application process?
No,
Emphatically.
ma'am. No, ma'am. That's the beauty of this system. It's all electronic. So
And
yeah,
it's heavily encrypted too, so it's very secure.
yeah. So don't worry about, you know, privacy issues. It is heavily encrypted. So yes, you do need to upload your documents.
Okay, moving on. Do we need to create a B2G account for each county, state, or if we have one, then it's all we need for all B2Gs? You don't need to create a second one. If you're already registered or you have an account rather with B2G, another entity, Miami-Dade, Orlando, wherever, another state, it still will work in our system. So my suggestion is go to the vendor lookup screen button rather on the login screen and check to see if you have an account. The system will not allow you to create another one if you already have one. If you forgot your password, it'll prompt you through that. But no, you don't need another one. One is all you need. Next question. If you don't have a trade license, can you still be certified? That was kind of related to the one we answered before, so I'm
Yes.
going to skip that one. Does this application need to be submitted every year, or does it automatically roll over to the following year?
Okay, so it's not a complete application. You do have to renew annually. So if your anniversary was, say, November 1st, then on November 1st, 2026, you'd have to renew. However, the renewal process is a little bit shorter than the original application process. It requires a few less documentation, but you do still need to go into the system, and you will be prompted by the system that your renewal is coming up. You still need to go into the system and upload the required documentation for the renewal.
That'll be a really cool feature in the system because we're all using the same system, certifiers and applicants. So you'll definitely get those notifications. Let's see, if we decide to start the certification process today, but don't know if we will complete the application by the 26th, should we wait until the BMS system launches and begin the application process then?
If you
wouldn't be,
if you
do you want me
well
to start? Because the
no
old system's down.
Yeah, with the old system, you couldn't have applied after January 5th. But if you applied before January 5th and you haven't gotten an answer, do know that we are aware that you applied. And once January 26th, once the system is live, we will transfer that information into your new record. So you do need to create a profile in the system. But once you create that profile, shoot us a email at bmscert@broward.org. Let us know that your profile is created, that you applied in November or whenever it was you applied, and we will transfer that information that you submitted in the old system into the new system and your new profile.
Okay, let's see. For renewals, do I have to submit 2025 tax returns or 2024?
At this point, it's 2024. We usually don't. If your renewal date is sometime in June or July, we're asking for 2025. But if the tax date hasn't arrived yet, we're looking for the previous year. So that would be 2024.
Okay. Next question. I attended the webinar on the DBE requirements in December. Happy to hear that. Starting January 26th, can we submit our application through this new B2G Now system? Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to ask that we haven't sent out information to our current DBE, ACDBE certified firms to let them know how to submit the reevaluation or to submit the documents that are required for reevaluation. We want to do that first before we start accepting applications for new firms to be DBE certified. So if you're a new firm, please wait until stay on top of our website, because we will be letting people know on our website when you can submit a new application. If you're already DBE certified and you want to submit the personal narrative and the personal net worth, wait until after the 26th, and there will be a way for you to upload that information. But wait until you hear from us. And we're going to give you details on how to do that. But it will be done in the new system.
Okay. Next question. We started a new SBE CBE application process on September 2025. Do we need to do the entire process again? Thank you so much. September.
In September, that one, if you completed that, then we should have that. I'm not sure if we have anything from September though. I think early November is the latest. But if you did not complete an application in September and you started it in the old system and never submitted it, you do need to go over to the new system and submit that.
Okay, our next one is, correction to previous question. I was having difficulties uploading the supporting documents in the old system.
So yeah, so do a brand new one in the new system.
And if it was a renewal, but you are having trouble uploading, let us know that. You can email us and we'll try to work with you. But the system was down as of January 5th. So before that, it was functional and everything was in place. Next comment, are certifications transferable from Palm Beach County?
Okay, you want to talk about the FSVE program?
We haven't officially launched it yet, but we
Okay.
will be for everyone. It's going to be on our website. But let's address it with what we currently have. So our
Okay, so
certifications transferable from Palm Beach County. We've got our DBE ACDBE, which is federal, and then we've got our local CBE SBE, County Business Enterprise, Small Business Enterprise. There's no reciprocity for our local programs. They were designed specifically for local Broward County businesses. You actually have to be located and operating in Broward County for at least a year, continuously thereafter to be able to apply for certification. So we currently don't accept applications from anyone else. However, our federal program, the DBE Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, ACDBE, Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, is a national program. And that does have reciprocity. However, as of October 3rd, because of the interim final rule, the entire state of Florida, the certifiers within the state of Florida, need to first reevaluate the firms, DBEs, ACDBEs that were in the Florida directory before we can even move forward with counting any other vendors. So if it was DBE, ACDBE, and you are in Palm Beach County, just hang in there. The entire state has to complete that reevaluation process first. If you're interested in another certification, you can let us know, but the local one, and we don't have reciprocity other than the federal program with anyone else right now. Next question. This system allows for reciprocity if already certified with Miami-Dade. It was a question. This system allows for reciprocity. I think we answered that one. So if it's federal certification, those are national, the DBE, ACDBE. So yes, once the entire state is at a point where it's ready to move forward with that. And when we complete the reevaluations and you're deemed to still be DBE, ACDBE, it would still be good throughout the entire state. And then you could pursue interstate certification with other agencies or entities in other states. Next one is, will the information submitted for other agencies be available? Yes. It's my understanding, if you have an account with another entity and you're certified with that other entity, your profile, because remember, it's one profile across B2G Now's platform, you should be able to view your certifications. And if you have contracts with other entities, you should also be able to view those. But you won't be able to view ours, our contracts, until the go live when everything's in place on the 26th. Next one, from Judith Silvera from Napa. Just for clarification, do I need to create a profile in the new system?
Judith, if you've been in the B2G system, you should be able to look up your profile in the vendor lookup. Once we go live, if you're there, then you don't have to do anything. If you're not, well, you will have to renew, because I know you were asking about your renewal. You will have to renew in the new system, but do a vendor lookup first before you create a new profile, because you may already be in there if you've dealt with the B2G system with some other agency or that's using B2G.
Okay. If we were unable to go to the training for the new requirements, is there a way that we can see the training we need to renew? Yes. Our training session today, the one from yesterday, the ones previously done before that, and I think we've got one more tomorrow, utilization reports and payment verifications at 9:30 a.m. Those are all going to be recorded and they're going to be posted to OESBD's YouTube channel. I think I see that our CRO team has been putting that information in the chat. So go ahead and check there and you'll be able to get access to the link for the YouTube channel. Is B2G a paid service or is it free? For our vendors, you wouldn't be paying for it because you're going through our profile. We paid for it,
I was
but
gonna
you
say,
don't
we
have to.
pay for it, but you don't have to.
But you don't have to. We're almost through our questions. If we have been certified DBE through other agencies, what would we answer on our application for Broward DBE applications?
DBE or CBE?
I don't know, it
Broward
could be my
CBE.
glasses, but it said DBE. It's the second to last one. If we have been certified DBE, see, you have me doubting my glasses today. DBE through another agency, what should we answer on our application? So if you're already DBE certified with another entity, so let's say, for example, it's Miami-Dade. Think of the state of Florida as one certifying body. There are actually 9 certifying members. And if you're certified by any of those 9 members, it works for the entire state of Florida for the federal DBE and ACDBE program. But if you're certified DBE, ACDBE by an entity outside of Florida, that's another, we call them UCPs, Unified Certification Program. You can do an interstate request to be acknowledged in the state of Florida. But like we were saying before, the state of Florida, all of the certifying members need to complete that reevaluation process for all of its firms that were DBE, ACDB listed in our directory before we can proceed with anything else. So we wouldn't be able to, we're not even processing interstate just yet because we haven't completed our reevaluation process. So hopefully that answers your question. And then let me see, I think we've got one more. Oh, no. Oh, the person that clarified, Arvin clarified that it was intended to be CBE. So
Yes,
if we've been certified CBE through another agency.
so CBE through, say, Miami-Dade, there's no reciprocity. So if you want to be CBE certified in Broward, you need to have an office here, first of all, that has been operating for at least a year, and then you'll have to apply for CBE.
Okay. And then any estimate on when we will receive the information on submitting the new DBE requirements? Good question, Marguerite. We intend to send a letter out. We're aiming for, I don't want to actually say a time frame, but definitely by the week of the go live, we'll have something issued because we're government. It needs to go up the flagpole and be approved by, the higher ups. We're going to be sending a correspondence out with instructions on the reevaluation process within the BMS. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll have updates on our website. But we have a finite list of firms that Broward County, through our office, certified. We'll be contacting those directly. Firms certified by other certifying members within the Florida UCP, they're going to be contacted by their certifying member. There's more. Hi, Karen. If an accountant is submitting a quarterly ACDB report, are they using the B2G Now account as the ACDB company? Really good question. So the module that you've seen so far, because the one for concessions is going to be tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, it's today. Today at 1 p.m. I forget it's a short week. So that module is going to go through the different components of the concessions. That training is going to go through the different components of that module. If you have someone representing your company, you can add them as a user if you approve it, because I know you're the ACDB in question. The way that the concessions module is going to be set up, the primary vendors or concession operators are going to be the ones inputting either the revenue or the dollars paid to the ACDBEs. And then there'll be a prompt for the certified firms, subcontractors, subconcessions, subvendors to go in and confirm if those gross receipts or payments, because in some instances they're paid for the management agreements, are correct. So if the person that you authorize in the system to do it on behalf of your company is given access by you, then yes. If not, then no. All right, Arvind, I think we did read it again. So we did answer it for CBE, and that looks like all the questions, unless CRO tells me I missed one. And that brings us to the end of our Q&A today.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, one more just popped up.
Okay.
My apologies. I didn't hear whether an extension was granted for late renewals. I was having difficulties with my computer system. Okay. Katrina, go ahead and send us an email. You can send it to bmscert@broward.org. We'll check to see. We've got an enterprise technology services division. They can tell us when it was actually attempted, and we'll try to help you. If you haven't received a decertification or denial letter from us, we can grant you additional time to complete it. But if you are already denied or decertified, you'd have to start the process over.
And remember, that would have to happen in the new BMS system because the old system is decommissioned now.
Okay. Another one slipped in. I already have an account and my certification. Do I have to submit my small business affidavit in the new system on the 26th?
So is this a renewal? If it's a renewal, we don't need an affidavit for the renewal. If you applied and got certified prior to the January 5th and you got certified, we don't need to see another affidavit. Our enterprise technology division is transferring all the backup documentation from previously into the new system. Now that's going to happen in stages, so we won't see it right away, but we do have access to the what we call the back door of the old system. So if it's in there, then you don't have to put it in the new system.
Okay. Let's see. We got a few more. Yes, bmscert@broward.org. That is correct, Katrina. And Anthony clarified it's not a renewal.
Oh, if
So,
it's brand new, then yes, you need to upload the required documents in the new system starting January 26th.
okay. Hi, so renewals have to start the process of renewal now. Dates, please.
January 26th?
If your renewal is coming up, you would need to complete the process in the new BMS system. Let's say, hypothetically, if you completed your renewal and your anniversary date is September, you don't need to start thinking about renewals until like 30 days, 35 days before your new anniversary date. So you're
Yeah.
fine. It's only if you're coming up for your anniversary date, or if it's past, or it's in that 30-day parameter next to your anniversary date, then you'd need to initiate that process. How do we, oh, how were decertification letters sent?
They're
By certified mail.
certified mail, yeah.
Let's see. Thank you. Okay. I think we hit it all. Our end time is 11 o'clock, so we were able to squeeze in some more, but I think we've hit everything. I'm looking at the chat. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today. Today's session, as we mentioned before, is recorded and will be posted to OESBD's YouTube channel. So if you're coming back this afternoon at 1 p.m., we're going to be going through the concessions module within BMS. And then tomorrow, Friday, the 23rd at 9:30 a.m., we're going to go through utilization reports and payment verifications. That's for existing contracts with small business requirements. It's going to replace the monthly utilization process that we were doing before on paper form. So we hope to see you then. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.